Road rage is an aggressive or angry behavior by a driver of an automobile or other vehicle. Such behavior might include rude gestures, verbal insults, deliberately driving in an unsafe and threatening manner, or making threats. Road rage can lead to altercations, assaults, and collisions that result in injuries and even deaths. It can be thought of as an extreme case of aggressive driving. 5 ways to reduce stress. Turn your car into a place that is calm. Use an air freshener of your choice. Music that calms you down. Perils of distracted driving. Cell phones, texting, eating, distractive music. When someone on the road shows negative behavior, label that behavior. Labeling bad driving skills is a way of letting emotions go. Aggressive drivers don't make eye contact with the person. If aggressive driver follows, drive to the police station. Our greatest power is how we control oneself. This is an aggressive driving test. If you get angry at drivers, never, sometimes, often, and always, scoring 1, 2, 3, and 4. Do you get angry at fast drivers? Do you get angry at slow drivers? Do you get angry when drivers cut you off? Do you get angry when a malfunctioning of a stoplight? Do you get angry when there's a traffic jam? Do you get angry with your spouse, friends telling you to calm down? Do you get angry when someone tailgates you? Do you get angry at your passengers? Do you get angry when multi-lane highways narrow? This concludes the aggressive driving test. Again, scoring from 1 to 4 points. Add up your points and find out where you are. Again, thank you for watching Less Stress for You and I. If you have any tips or comments, please contact us at morris910@yahoo.com. Back to you, Saran.
Hi, this is Saran, and welcome to Saran's Perspective. Today we'll be talking about road rage. Something that I'm sure that infuriates most of you, definitely infuriates me, is someone that is driving along and they seem to be of a particular denomination, whether it be Christian, Muslim, Jewish, and they're driving as if they're in some type of MMA wrestling match. That is to say, they're cutting you off, they're going fast, they're hitting their brake, they're flipping you off. Nice gesture, read between the lines. I don't understand that type of quiet animosity. However, I would dare say that if we allow this to affect us, even though they cut us off, they're not thinking about us anymore, you know? If we allow it to affect us, then the onus is upon us because we've taken that stress upon ourselves. So I would suggest that when someone does this rather unkind, uncivil gesture towards you, perhaps taking a deep breath, letting it out, put on some relaxing music, leave it away from the heavy metal, leave it away from the gangster rap, because that's just going to pump up those juices, you know, that audio stimulus saying, yeah, go ahead and, you know, do this, do that, and the other thing. I suggest you leave all that alone. Look into yourself and say, excuse me, do I want to get angry? Do I want to let this person ruin my day and upset me? I would suggest that you don't, because you probably have a wonderful day ahead of you, and there's no use in this person who really doesn't know you, doesn't care about how you're thinking, what you're feeling. I suggest you don't let them ruin your day. As my partner, Jimmy, may have already suggested, kind of like pay it forward. I think that was a real good idea he threw out there, or pass it forward. Let's not pay anything forward, okay? Pass it forward, let it go, If you need to say something like, that person is such a jerk, say it to yourself quietly because they can't hear you. So don't scream in your car. That, I think, is a bit, maybe a sign of insanity there, a little road rage for yourself going on. So in order to spare yourself this road rage, remember your breathing. Remember that this person has no regard for anything, even themselves, if they're driving that dangerously. So, 1, breathe. 2, pass it forward. 3, relax. Listen to good music. And watch Less Stress for you and I. This is Saran saying peace out. Back to you, Jimmy.
Dogs, ostriches.
Hi, it's Jimmy again, Jimmy's Rage. On this particular episode of Less Stress and Wellness, this particular topic we're dealing with is going to be talking about road rage. You ever notice how when you get on the road, and we all do this, it becomes a place where there's a lot of stress involved. Paying attention to your speed, paying attention to the other drivers beside you, behind you, and in front of you. So this all creates a lot of stress because there's a lot of attention that has to be taken into account. And sometimes we make mistakes on the road. We're human, we all make mistakes. Well, there's a current thing going on called Pass It Forward. I want to suggest to all of us when we're on the road to kind of pass it forward when we're on the road. Sometimes when you don't get to your exit spot and don't pull over quick enough, we have to try to squeeze in. And you may see someone in front of you that squeezes in. Well, I would consider that person, because they just squeezed in, they would allow the next person, if they try to squeeze in, the same opportunity that they were given. So have a little courtesy, think about passing it forward, and when you're on the road, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I know this is a hard, difficult thing with stress going on when driving, but I think this will all help us all to alleviate driving rage. Thanks very much. Keep that in mind. It's up to you to be fit 100%. Why is it so hard to study racial profiling by police? By Emily Badger, April 30th, 2014. On Monday, the Justice Department announces plans to collect data in 5 pilot cities on police stops, search and arrest, and cases outcomes in a bid to ferment out the possible effects of bias within the criminal justice system. The program comes with a grand name. It launches the National Center for Building Community Trust and Justice, and a decent pot of money, $4.75 million, not an insignificant amount for research in the social sciences. With it, Attorney General Eric H. Holder Jr. is after the objective core of any policy debate. Of course, to be successful in reducing both the experience and the perception of bias. He said in announcing the program, we must have viable data about the problem. Data of the kind he is talking about, however, is exceptionally difficult to obtain. Perhaps you think you've already seen something like it. Holder quoted 2 statistics Monday. The first was from a recent study widely covered by the media. By the age of 23, it found half of all black men have been arrested at least once. Similar data suggests that black men are 6 times more likely to be incarcerated than white men. But while that data points to overwhelming disparities in whom is impacted by America's criminal justice system, it doesn't tell us much about police bias, about whether those disparities exist, at least in part because Officers on the street are stopping and arresting black men more often than whites for no reason other than their race. Perhaps you think you've seen data on this point too. The New York City Liberties Union produced this graphic from stop and frisk data in New York City in 2011, when 87% of all people stopped were either black or Latino. Last fall, the website BKLYNR followed up with an even more compelling visualization of 2011 stop and frisk data in New York City by race. What we really want to know, though, is not whether minorities are stopped at a higher proportion than their share of the local population would suggest. We want to know if they're stopped in a higher proportion than the rate of which they commit crimes. What you'd want to know is this: since Afro-Americans are 6 times more likely to be stopped and frisked, are they 6 times more likely to be in possession of something criminal when they're stopped, says John Roman, a senior fellow at the Urban Institute. If you were to stop people on the street of New York entirely at random, would that still be true? This is a particularly difficult question to answer because we are fundamentally trying to compare stop and arrest rates about which we have data with criminal behavior about which seldom do. We know, for instance, who and how many people are arrested and convicted within a given year at any city for burglary, but we don't know how many people or which people in that city commit a burglary with or without getting caught. That larger group, by definition, evades data. We can't even simply compare the universe of the people who are stopped against the universe who are ultimately arrested, because police make both stops and arrests. Any bias would be built into both samples. For these reasons, police data alone will never yield the kind of insight that a randomized, controlled trial might. But a true experience is this: context would be extremely difficult to design. The ultimate question is this: how would a police officer respond differently to 2 people on the street who come from similar economic backgrounds set in otherwise identically contexts, with one is white and the other not? Perhaps we could test police departments the same way that researchers hunt for by sending 2 otherwise identical but racially different candidates to tour a home or apply for a mortgage, or to walk down a street carrying some contraband past a police officer. But that still doesn't answer the question of who commits crimes in the universe of people who are both caught and not caught. The research that we already have on police bias suggests with all of these limitations. A stop and frisk in New York, for example, tried to particularly solve these problems by comparing different officers serving in the same neighborhood to each other, and by using census data to reconstruct who might be stopped by an officer in a given neighborhood if this decision was racially unbiased. But by both of these tactics are imperfect. Acknowledging this, the study concludes that racial disparities were smaller but still exist than we might think, looking at the kind of raw data that civil liberty groups have used. Roman suggests a few other imperfect solutions. We don't have a study that says these are the proportions by which different gender and race commit crimes. He says, but we do not know how often they self-report using drugs, and we do know how often they are arrested for drugs violations. Research consistently says that blacks are not more likely, they are even less likely than whites to use drugs, but they are 4 times as likely to be arrested for some drug possession charges. When you see similar rates of use and completely disparative rates of arrest, Roman says that's evidence that racial bias, that's sort of hard to repudiate. But there's also one other big challenge. Here, even if we manage to produce great data, despite all of these limitations, it would be descriptive, not perceptive, even if the Justice Department programs identifies the presence of a racial bias in policing that doesn't begin to tell us why it exists or how to eliminate it. That's not necessarily a barrier to policy solutions for a criminal justice system. That's disproportionately why impacts minorities. We can move forward with reforming drug laws regardless of whether the disparities caused by those laws were intentionally or not based on any other bias. Embedded in a system is much harder than to understand that the disparities created by it. Emily Badger is a reporter for the WOG blog covering urban policy. She was previously a staff writer at the Atlantic CI. Thank you very much. One comment in regards to this article. The only reason why you don't understand someone is because you don't want to. Thank you very much.
Greetings and salutations. This is Saran once again coming to you live from the studio. Maybe not so live, maybe on tape. And I am here with
Richard A. Number 1 Claddy.
Richard A. Number 1 Claddy.
Number 1 in your heart, number 13 on the program.
Okay, and we're not going to talk about that right now. But what we are going to talk about is road rage. Richard,
yes, sir.
You're an experienced driver now?
Oh, over 45 years on the road.
Good Lord, that's scary. Okay, so Richard, would you...
Seen it all, I've seen it all.
Share with us. Share, what have you seen?
Well, I'd say the craziest scene I was in was after work. It was like this time of year, you know, cold. And, I got off work about 2 o'clock. I work at the University of Minnesota. I get on the Highway 94 heading north, and I come out of the Lowry Tunnel. And you come out of there, and the wind was whipping, there was light snow coming down, visibility was just out of nowhere turning to zero. So what would you think, hey, maybe you might want to slow down. You know, people coming out of that tunnel are going 40, 50 miles an hour.
Sure.
So I'm cutting down to about 30, you know, and I thought that was fast. And here comes zoom, zoom, cars just zooming by me.
Good Lord.
So I come around the corner, and here's a truck that tipped over. Semi lost control. Everything's glare ice.
Nice.
So I put on. I'm only going, 25. I'm slowing down. Cars are still coming by me. I'm going. Don't you see it? There's a car. You come around and all you see is red lights because cars are stopping.
Sure.
And so I slow down, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 one car after another.
They centipeded.
Oh yeah, and I look in my rear view mirror, and here comes a car right at me, losing control, spinning, and that car spun right around me.
Wow.
And I'm going, what are you effing people crazy? Slow down, slow down. And it was one accident, then the car's banging off the railing, and I'm looking around, I'm going, holy cow. And luckily, there was a ramp coming down.
Okay.
And somebody was smart enough to stop people from coming down, and so I slowly crept off the side, and mind you, bang, bang, cars are just, all this is going on. I've never been so scared in my life. So I get to that ramp and go up the wrong way and get off there, And I checked the news. I said, well, I get home, I tell my wife, I was just shaking. And I wrote down the experience, because I've never been through anything like that. Just
Okay.
pure terror. Never felt anything like that. And I felt road rage too, just seeing these knuckleheads, one after another, passing me. And I thought, I was actually yelling, slow down, slow down.
And they're driving by saying, why is this crazy white boy yelling at me to slow down? Okay.
And then I got home, told my wife, said I'd never seen anything like that. And then I got on the news, saw the 10 o'clock news, and they had a guy, tow truck driver. He said, yeah, I'd never seen anything like it. I took 15, 20 cars out of there myself, and I'd estimate there was 100 cars involved.
Wow.
And luckily, nobody got killed. There was a couple broken legs, and I'm sure some good whiplash.
Right,
And
right.
like I said, I've never been anything like that. I hope I never will again.
So let me ask you this, if I may. How did you calm yourself down?
Oh, well, I just was shaken. It was just a matter of getting home and just settling down.
Feeling in a safe environment.
Yeah, in a safe environment,
yeah.
just getting off the road, Jack.
Right. And don't you come back no more. So, Richard, share with us another experience, because that was a doozy.
Well, another one, just this, I'll go from just pure terror to just wondering what goes through some people's minds.
There we go.
So, if you know anything about driving and you come, there's like 2 lanes going into one, it's called the zipper effect.
Okay.
People are supposed to understand that. I mean, it's just common sense. One car goes, another car goes, another car
Oh
goes.
my God, that's a pet peeve of mine. Yes, sir.
So I'm
yes, sir.
coming down this ramp once again, coming from work, going on 94, and there's this slow-moving truck, and there's this young lady, real young lady. I'm telling you, she must have been like 20 years old or so, and I'm this older guy. I'm on the right here. Well, the truck was on her side, so the truck goes, so then it's my turn. There's a car in front of the
Zipper.
truck. This truck was going so slow, so I had to kind of wait. Well, she gets right behind the truck and looks at me like I'm nuts, like I'm trying to cut her off. I'm going, and then I'm still trying to get out and still trying to go, and she almost pushes me off the road. If I would have, she would never would have let me in.
Wow.
Never. And she looked at me like I'm the idiot. And I go, honey, it's the zipper effect. You take turns. It's common sense. It's common courtesy.
I think zipper effect means a different thing to the younger generation, I find that courtesy has died on the road.
Yes.
Would you?
Oh yeah, I mean, people get
You'd
behind
agree with that?
I don't care if you're 4 foot, 103 pounds soaking wet. You get behind that car, you're Hulk Hogan.
I've seen that way too many times. I've seen very religious people turn demonic, at the flip of a dime. Yeah. So
another one. Okay, this. I'll wrap this one up. This is crazy, like you're saying. Just when you thought you'd seen it all. This middle-aged guy was going. There's 3 lanes. It seems, I don't know what is it. 94 has all the crazies on it. So I'm in the.
not because it's coming from St. Paul or anything.
I'm in the far right lane. There's a dude in the middle and another car. There's a dude in the middle and there's a guy behind me. So this car, this guy's in the left lane coming up. So the guy behind me didn't see him. Must have been in his blind spot. So he comes over. He's going to pass me, of course, but he didn't see this other car in the lane there. So this other guy has a slam on his brakes. And I don't know why this guy, he was just oblivious to it all. He didn't seem to understand it. He cut somebody off, and this guy had a slam on his brakes.
Yeah.
But then he just kind of cruised on, and I said, okay, it happens all the time. Well, the guy that got cut off, he zooms around him, gets in front of him, and slams on his brakes right in the middle of the highway. And this dude has to slam on his brakes, otherwise he'd have rammed right into him.
Yeah.
And this is right in the middle of the highway, and other cars have to slam on their brakes. Everybody's looking. I'm the only guy that really knows what happened. I'm watching this guy, and he's one of these young guys going, I showed you. Yeah, he showed him. He almost caused a multi-car accident. And the dude that had to slam on his brakes is going, what the hell? I'm in the middle of a highway. What's this nut slamming on his brakes for? He didn't understand.
He started the initiated.
But he didn't realize it. I said, oh, God, just when you thought you'd seen everything.
So, if you had a piece of advice to give to the younger generation that's now getting behind the wheel and starting to drive and raising our insurance rates, thank you very much.
Nah.
What advice would you give them?
I'd say, count to 10. Take it easy, because believe it or not, if you drive enough, you're going to make a mistake.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to you, and you might not even, like this guy was talking about, you might not even realize it. You cut somebody off and you almost cause an accident, and you might not even know it because the guy was in your blind spot or something, or somehow you were just daydreaming. And another thing, hey, take it easy on the texting, huh?
Oh, thank you, thank you.
I mean,
And you
what
can put your phone
knucklehead?
down. You can put your phone down.
Yeah.
You can wait till you get home or something like
And there's
that.
already been studies out that says chances are about 10 times, especially if you're texting, you're looking down, you're trying to
Oh,
text.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, that's idiotic. I
Yeah.
mean, excuse me, if you're doing that, I'm gonna call it like it is.
You're an
an
idiot.
idiot.
Just saw that one coming.
Okay, so a lot of people talk on the phone. Well, there's even studies on that. You're twice as likely to get in an
Yeah.
accident if
Yeah.
you're distracted.
Right.
Let's face it, it's common sense. You're distracted.
Right.
You need 100% both eyes on the road.
Yeah.
Come on now.
And your mind on the road
Somebody
as well.
give me a hallelujah on that one.
Hallelujah. You got it, brother. Yeah. Even the cameraman gave you one. Okay. So like Queen said, you got to cool down,
Oh
relax.
yeah, that's just,
that's-
like I said, you're fired up. Somebody upset you, but once again, hey, you're out there. You're gonna upset people too, and it's just common sense. Let's try to make roads better for everybody, huh?
I like that. I like that. A very wise person, it was me. A very wise person said that, listen, once the person passes you, they're no longer thinking about you.
Right on.
You're so far out of their mind, and you could be sitting there ingesting all this anger, and taking it upon yourself, and then you go home and you're angry and you're pissed off and you act like a jerk, and this person's already long gone, never giving you a second thought. So again, don't let another person's problem become yours. Don't let a person's lack of planning constitute an emergency on your behalf. Driving is a privilege that we enjoy in this country. Accept it as a privilege. It is not your right to drive. It's a privilege. And so when you take this privilege, you have to realize you have a responsibility not only to yourself, not only to your family, but other fellow vehicular drivers, right, that are out there trying to do the same thing you're doing, get from point A to point B without getting to point D, which equates to death. So don't piss them off on the road. This is Saran. We want to thank you for joining us, and we'll be getting back with you real soon. Remember, when you're on the road, you not only have your life in your hands, but you have other people's lives in your hands.
Hi, it's Jimmy again. Let me start over.
So, I suggest that when you meet such a person, or rather, an incident as such as, I want to do that again. Person soaking wet 98 pounds, get behind the wheel and all of a sudden they're King Kong.